Hi viewers, today we will have a look at another watch from Roma, a great Swiss brand, a lot of tradition, quite a lot of history, and this is the Roma Competence. Right, well obviously as you can see this is a skeleton dial watch, completely transparent dial showing all the workings there, and that movement you see there is the STP6-15, basically a clone of the ETA 2824. It is a Swiss movement. I think originally there were a couple of parts from China, but apparently now it's all Swiss made, all Swiss parts, and Roma is a proper Swiss made brand. They do have their own factory in Switzerland where they make all their own watches. So this is a very fine watch indeed. So I'll just go over the specs on this. The case diameter is 43mm, the thickness is 13mm, the lug to lug is just under 50mm, and the lug width is 20mm, and the bracelet does taper down to 18mm. It does have some water resistance, the rating is 50 meters. The movement has a 48-hour power reserve, which is very decent. And we've got a lovely domed sapphire crystal there. Very nice. Right, okay, well if I'm honest, I've never been a fan of these skeleton watches. I suppose they've always felt a little bit on the tacky side to me, but that's probably because there's so many cheap Chinese junk watches with this appearance. And obviously there are very, very expensive watches in the tens of thousands with skeleton dials as well, so it doesn't necessarily mean they're cheap looking watches, but I think there are so many done so badly that it's always given me that impression that they look a bit tacky. But this particular one I don't think looks tacky at all. I really do like it. I think it's done very well. The design of the actual perimeter of the dial, where obviously you've got to have some section of a dial where you've got the markers. I think that's done really well. It's really attractive. It has this sort of dark steel grey colour to it, and the markers there are all applied onto the edge and just stick out over the rest of the transparent section of the dial like little diving boards. And the hands are really well done, and surprisingly they do have loom on them, which is pretty good. And actually for a skeleton dial watch it is surprisingly legible. No problem reading the time on that dial at all. And I think they've done a great job with their logo as well. That's actually fixed on, somehow fixed onto the dial as well. But it is very interesting looking at all the workings, all the different parts there in the movement. Really easy to see and certainly fascinating to look at. The watch case itself is really nicely finished. You have some really nice bit of brush polishing on the sides of the case, and then it sort of has this bevel down the middle section there, and that beveled edge is polished, and then the rest of the, and then the other side is brushed as well. Very nicely signed crown, and the bezel part is polished, so you have that attractive combination of polished and brushed. Looks great. So that's quite an interesting case shape. It has a unique profile. Really very well done, quite artistic. I do really like the crown of this watch. It's got a very interesting shape to it. Again, it's quite artistic, sculpted, it's almost scalloped knurling there, and it is a push-pull crown, but really great pop to it, and a super silky smooth movement. And just pops back in. and you can wind it. Obviously it's hacks as well. Really good quality, does feel really good in the hands. Yeah, lovely, really nice shape to it, that crown. And that sapphire crystal, I love that dome, it's really effective. Just shows off that movement really well. So I'll just flip that over and show the case back with the exhibition glass there. You can see the movement again with the rotor. Very nicely decorated actually. And then we have the wording on the solid part of the case back. Aroma Competence. Strange name. Skeleton 3. Does have a very solid weighty feel. Does certainly have a air of quality about it. But it's not a particularly cheap watch. It retails for £750. Yeah, around about $800 I suppose. But I'm not saying it's not worth that. It is a very good watch. It does feel really special. But I wouldn't pay full price for this. These Roma watches tend to be heavily discounted, and but if you hunt around you should find this watch at a much better price than that. There are different variations. There's one with a leather strap, then gold case, and then the two-tone as well, which I don't like so much. This one I think is the best combination. So yeah, I do really like it. I just wish the case size was a tad smaller, maybe 41mm would have been best. Or even 42 could have been okay. 43 is just a little bit too big. Certainly is a very mesmerising watch to look at. And I think the finishing is superb all around. And yeah, I think the balance is perfect. Very pleasing appearance, I think. And the bracelet, again, really well built. Has these separate links in between the main links, which are brushed, and then these thinner parts are polished. They are held just with standard push pins. You've got a butterfly deploying there, and then you can see it's signed as well. Nicely finished. But it's a very good bracelet. Nice solid links, not rattly at all. Has a nice drape to it, and I think it matches the rest of the watch perfectly. It's a good choice for a bracelet for this particular watch. Okay, so let's see how that looks on the wrist now. Yeah, I like how that looks. It is actually really comfortable. Very nice snug fit. The lugs curl down perfectly on the wrist. And yeah, I suppose it does feel a bit smaller than a 43mm watch actually. But yeah, that look is really growing on me. I never thought I'd say that with a skeleton watch, but I do like it. I think they've done a really good job with this. Okay, as I said, surprisingly it does have a lume on this watch, and we'll have a look at that now. And not too bad at all. Not the brightest, but it does the job, and that does last a fair amount of time, so I'm quite impressed with that. Didn't really expect that on this type of watch. Nice one. Okay, before I finish, I'm going to zoom in on that amazing dial, and we can look at all those inner workings in more detail. Okay, so there you can see the logo suspended there. Just seems to be floating in space. I think that's really clever the way they've done that. Yeah, good. See all the beautiful intricate parts that go into making a watch movement. And I'm not going to attempt to tell you what each part is, because that is not my field of expertise at all. but doesn't stop me from being impressed by it. Fantastic. It all looks really well finished to me, and the movement does have 26 joules, and as I said, a 48-hour power reserve. I do really like the way the markers are applied onto the edge of the dial. Very effective and really interesting look, and impeccably finished as well. Look at that. Great craftsmanship. The handset, very well finished also. Second hand goes right to the edge. Just have a close look at the back as well. Superb. Okay, well that's it. That's the Roma Competence Skeleton 3 watch. The first skeleton watch I've reviewed on this channel. Maybe it won't be the last, maybe it will, I don't know. But anyway, I'm really impressed with this one. I do like it. I do hope you enjoyed looking at this, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.